You good to go? My time is 6:30. Okay. Everybody here all set?
We're good to go.
Okay. I'd like to make a motion to open the Select Board meeting of Monday, December 30th, 2024. We're here in the Select Board chamber, and the time is 6:30. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion been made and duly seconded. Roll call is in order. Ms. Fidler?
Aye.
Mr. Darcy?
Aye.
Mr. Kelly?
Aye.
Unanimous vote to open the Select Board meeting for December 30th, 2024.
Because it's the last meeting of our 2024. I did it really.
Okay, you want to use the gavel.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not really my
Thank you,
style,
Madam
but
Chair.
yes. Would you all please join me in a pledge of allegiance? I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Before I get started with my chair comments, I just want to mention that we do have a 6:45 appointment that has been postponed, and that will be moving to January 13th of 2025. But before I get started, I just want to thank you all because we've had a very busy 2024, and I know fiscal year is different for municipalities than it is for the rest of us, right? So we kind of end our year and the bells come down and whatnot. But I kind of have that feeling inside of me. So I just wanted to share with you and Steve and everybody here how I've kind of gone through the last period here, and just share with you pretty briefly. So if you'll bear with me. So it continues to be my honor and pleasure to serve the people of Marshfield as chair of the Select Board. And as you know, Jim Kilcoyne was here before I in the year 2024. But on behalf of the Select Board, I would like to thank everyone in town for your participation at our recent town meeting and all of the other hard work we've done to make Marshfield better over the past year. One of the long-standing priorities and commitment is to make sure that Marshfield's town government is run well, with transparency, accountability, and fiscal responsibility. And I think that we've taken positive steps as a town on all of these fronts this past year, and I hope you agree, positioning us well to face the challenges 2025 is likely to bring. I am proud that our board has started a public comment process where people are free to come in and share their personal thoughts and concerns with us. I think that listening is one of our most important jobs as persons elected to serve in town government, and I am pleased we've taken this important step at our meetings. I'm also happy that we end the year with our public safety departments in a fundamentally better position than we found ourselves last year. We successfully came to an agreement with our police department on a new contract, and we were pleased to be able to reappoint Chief Tavares to lead the police department. Similarly, we underwent a lengthy and successful search process for a new fire chief. And I am pleased that Chief LaSalva and his senior firefighters will take office later this week. It comes as little wonder that Marshfield recently was found to be one of the top 5, correct, Michael?
5 or 4, yeah.
5, safest communities in the nation, and we're all very proud of that worthy recognition. Our town has finished the harbor dredging project, and we're also working on beach renourishment, although we have some issues, as many of us know, on that front. But I am also happy that we have been able to start the Veterans Park project, and I look forward to seeing that work forward and completed. I was glad to take part in conversations this year about how to spend opiate settlement funds for the benefit of our town, and I'm excited to see where these discussions ultimately lead. As I said, 2025 is likely to have its share of challenges, many of them financial. We had a successful town meeting a few weeks ago, and I believe the decisions we made about our town's finances will help us put a fitting close in 2024 and prepare us well for the next year. However, with the state signaling issues with our eligibility for grants due to noncompliance with the MBTA community's law, we are going to have to work hard to identify how to fund needed projects without placing strain on local property taxes. And this may be our biggest challenge coming up. Also, while I support the upcoming vote on the South Shore Technical High School building project, we need to take steps to make sure that Marshfield's share of this debt is properly managed. And again, that the property taxpayers don't get hit with a bill they can't afford. Meanwhile, our work continues on other important projects. One of the most important of these is to assure the quality and protection of our aquifer and to deal with ongoing wastewater issues. We must do everything we can to ensure that we protect our natural resources and that our municipal infrastructure is safe. And that's going to take a village of everybody to do that. So I hope everybody has a happy and healthy new year. And on behalf of the board, I think I can speak with you on this. We appreciate the continued support and best interests for the town as we move forward. So thank you all for letting me just kind of share. And I appreciate it. You don't need to applaud, but I thank you. Anything else?
Madam Chair, may I ask for a point of personal privilege?
Sure.
Thank you.
Is it in regards to similar?
To the town, yes.
Okay.
Yep, kind of a year in review.
Okay.
So I just wanted to address some of the behavior that we saw during the first night of town meeting, as well as some behavior that I've seen going on in our town for a long time that's been bothering me. So I'll start off by saying that the second night of town meeting I thought was great. It was very calm. There were people who got up to speak for and against each article that came up, and the debate was very respectful and very civil. However, a lot of the behavior the first night of town meeting I found to be an absolute embarrassment for our town. We had grown adults who were screaming at the top of their lungs to the point where additional town meeting attendees across the hall in the gymnasium could hear them. And there's absolutely no excuse for that kind of behavior. And I'd also like to point out, too, that we had scouts in attendance to earn their merit badge by watching town meeting, and they were infinitely better behaved and more professional than a lot of the adults who spoke that night. Now, do you think the scouts sitting there were inspired to get involved in the future for the town based on what they witnessed? I can't imagine that they were. And I think it's a sad state of our current affairs where if someone disagrees with you, it cannot be an honest difference of opinion, but the other person has to be evil or have malicious intentions. And essentially, on the MBTA article at town meeting, your vote was based on whether or not you thought we would win in court. That's it. Yet, for some reason, anyone who thought we would lose in court and was concerned about the town missing out on grant money, and we've already received 2 letters from the state for grants that we've lost, and people who are concerned that the state might pick a district that is significantly worse than the one proposed at town meeting, which was designed to minimize the impact, were maligned and attacked. There was not a single person who stood up at town meeting to say that they loved the state legislation that we had to tackle. Not a single person. They were just voting on a risk and reward calculation. We also had a member of the Board of Public Works who stood up to speak in favor of the town's article because she was worried about the negative impact and ripple effect of losing in court. And how was she treated for doing that? Well, her friends and supporters who are on the page, the same page for 90% of issues, booed and jeered her on the floor of town meeting. And then the next day, they ripped her to shreds online, and some people called her a traitor. So if you cannot outmatch the impulse control and temperament of a 2-year-old, you're not part of the solution for our town. You're a symptom of what ails it. And what are you looking for in your town officials? Are you looking for people who have the courage to give you the right answer and stand by their convictions, not necessarily give you the popular answer or the easy answer? Or do you want a sycophant with no convictions? And if we lose in court, I have a question for you. Are you going to be more respectful at the next town meeting and stop assuming everyone is on the take? Or are you going to do what I've seen countless times already, which is move the goalposts and levy more insults? And then I want to talk about what was done to the chair of the advisory board. And the fact that people took a picture of his place of work and posted it online, which I think is beyond the pale, because he didn't craft the legislation the state passed, he didn't pick the district the town proposed, and he doesn't decide what goes on the town meeting warrant article agenda. All he does is the job that he was appointed to do, which is to advise what he thinks and his board collectively believes is in the best interest of the town. And he has the power of one vote, just like you do. And to suggest that he is on the take and you're simply connecting the dots isn't true. What you're actually doing is going on a wild goose chase because there's no evidence for those allegations. And again, this all ties into behavior that's been going on for way too long in our town. If everything is a conspiracy, then nothing is. And the constant state of hysteria is exhausting and applies to things as simple and small and straightforward as the donation of free benches to the library plaza. And I appreciate and agree and love the call to action for more people to get involved in town government, which they should, but the reason they don't is because of the behavior that they saw at town meeting on the first night. Now, over the years, I've talked to many people, and it was either their first town meeting that they attended or the first one they've gone to in years, and they swear that they will never come back. And they all have the same feedback. It's the toxic atmosphere, it's the over-the-top negativity, and obnoxious behavior and unbased accusations is exhausting. And who wants to volunteer their time to the town and try to give back to their community when they'll get attacked for being corrupt or on the take without evidence, and their children see those accusations and posts online? And what's most infuriating is the fact that they cannot find any evidence for their accusations is somehow proof that someone is hiding something. Now, it's easy to constantly complain and criticize from the sidelines because there's no accountability there. It's much easier to tear everything down than to try to build something because that's where the real work is. There's no courage behind a keyboard cowboy. We have too many people in town with misplaced anger because they have bad information, and I'll give you a great example right now. There were a lot of angry calls at town meeting for the town to be audited because of alleged misappropriation and misconduct. Well, in fact, the town is audited every single year, and we have a AA+ bond rating, which is the second highest that you can get. The only reason we don't have a AAA bond rating is because of our flood exposure as a seaside community. And every single year, we are audited by a private firm, and we're happy to provide a copy to anyone who requests it. In respect to some of the comments that the town should have zero debt, do any of those people have a mortgage, or did you pay cash for your home? I suspect most people, like me, took out a loan to make an important capital investment in their life and exercise fiscal prudence to secure the lowest interest rate possible like the town does. And at the Mass Municipal Association Conference, they teach a class about Marshfield's historic fiscal management and accomplishments. And again, these are things I've seen that have been taking place in our town for way too long, and I think it's taking us in the wrong direction. And I think it's important that we hear from multiple voices, because when there is an alternative voice online with a 100% factual post with a letter from the State Attorney General's office, it gets taken down and reported because it doesn't fit into the existing narrative for the echo chamber. And I remember growing up and being taught not to believe everything I read online, yet the same generation that gave that sage advice is not heeding it. And too many times I've seen misinformation or frankly a troll deliberately making something up because they know that somebody else will run with it because that's what they want to believe. And I do hope that this atmosphere we're currently in will be just another cycle in American history. And there's a quote that I've been thinking a lot about lately. McCarthy has caused dangerous divisions among the American people because of his attitude. In the attitude he has encouraged among his followers that there can be no honest differences of opinions with him. Either you must follow Senator McCarthy blindly, not daring to express any doubts or disagreements about any of his actions, or in his eyes, you must be a communist sympathizer, or a fool who has been duped by the communist line. Does that sound familiar? That was Senator Prescott Bush speaking to the U.S. Senate on December 1st, 1954. And I do wish that more people would get involved when town government, because I've sat through too many town meetings where 150 people are making decisions for a town of 25,000. And the problems that some folks are trying to solve are only being exacerbated by the methods they're deploying in their behavior because they're driving people away. We're in a downward spiral where every year it becomes more difficult to find good people to volunteer on town boards or run for office because of the toxicity that goes along with it. And so, Madam Chair, I'll just leave us with this final quotation that I think is very fitting for our times, and it's a call to action for every citizen in Marshfield to get more involved in the town government. Recent American history is a testimony to what happens if the talented ignore politics for the quiet life and rich rewards of the private sector and leave the public sphere to carnival barkers and clowns. Thank you.
Thank you. Great. I'd like to move on to our appointments this evening. We do not have any public comments this evening, so that portion of our, you know what, I'm going to take that back. I'm going to do our town administrator report, which comes prior to our public comments. But currently, we do not have any public comments. So,
Thank you, Madam Chair.
yep.
I'll do the ones from December 16th first. Participated in a weekly call at WAT to review current issues and to review the select board agenda. Hosted bi-monthly phone call with Superintendent of Schools Pat Sullivan to discuss various budget issues and challenges with the schools. Participated in a meeting with Sean Patterson, Paul Duross regarding the DEP and reporting requirements for the town. Participated in a monthly MMA Municipal Regional Policy Committee meeting to review the final legislative package for the MMA to submit for 2025-2026. The package covers procurement changes, remote public meetings, legal notices, veterans benefits, outdoor dining, liquor licenses, and infrastructure projects. Participated in the MMA's severe weather preparation webinar for winter months, communication, building safety, etc. Attended and participated in the opiate committee meeting and gave an update on the survey with over 219 people participating. Presentation by Sean Strobel on 30B process and final version of an application. Participated in the advisory board meeting to review several financial articles for the special town meeting, including the MBTA zoning and the efforts of the town if not supported at town meeting. Hosted a meeting with Sean Strobel, Treasurer Meg LeMay, Town Accountant Danielle, and Danielle, HR Director, to review some office policies and procedures regarding the FY26 budget, special town meeting certification, and free cash. Hosted my weekly meeting with Fred Russell, our Facility Director, to review a number of ongoing town projects. Bathrooms, locker rooms at the fire headquarters are almost completed. The door project at Town Hall, winterization of our buildings for the winter, potential roof projects, including Martin's roof project. Joined Lynn Fiddler, the chair of the select board, in an interview with Jan Martin for a position on the advisory board. Attending a Zoom meeting of the fire chief screening committee. Committee met to approve the final minutes from their meetings. Hosted a meeting with Ned Banks regarding, Ned Banks is a recreational trails person, regarding personnel issue with the volunteer and discussion on options to resolve the issue. Hosted a meeting with Rick Smith, the chair of the advisory board, to review a number of financial articles for a special town meeting. Discussion on the FY26 budget, annual town meeting, and warrants for the annual and special town meeting. Attended and participated in the Pearl Harbor Remembrance put together by our Veterans Office, Karen and Lisa, in the Select Board Chamber. Lisa also recognized our residents that gave the ultimate sacrifice in World War II and had signs made for the street corners to recognize them. Those signs can be viewed on the Town Hall Loop. Participated in the special Select Board meeting to deal with the open meeting law issue in an executive session regarding some ongoing legal cases. Hosted the weekly DPW meeting with our treasurer and town accountant to review financial matters, their budgets, capital projects, and FY26 budget. Hosted a prep meeting with Fred Monaco regarding our workshop with the Massachusetts Housing Partnership to discuss our presentation for the workshop later in that week. Attended an unveiling of the metal signs depicting the Maltese Cross prepared by the Masons for the Marshfield Fire Department as a thank you for the great work that they are doing saving lives. Participated in the Housing Trust meeting to approve the check for the purchase of 115 Revere Street, mailing of letters to monitor affordable units, and discussion on presentation to the Housing Partnership. Hosted a meeting with Tim Williams from the CRS-PPI to discuss a review of the plan, information to go out in tax bills, and the upcoming public hearing to review the work of the committee. Had a meeting with Don McAleer from the advisory board regarding some special town meeting articles and questions that he had. Hosted a meeting with Ned Banks from the Recreational Trails Committee regarding the procurement process. Conference call with Dr. Tom Hickey regarding our town meeting special district election on January 25th, 2025, on the $276 million South Shore Regional Vocational Technical High School project. Meeting with Chief LaSalva regarding his contract and swearing in tentatively scheduled for January 3rd, 2025 at the Daniel Webster House. Meeting with Deanne Mahoney, a resident interested in the work of the Opiate Committee and future participation in the committee. Conference call with John Monahan regarding the MBTA zoning and the effect it would have on the town of Marshfield if not supported at town meeting. Attended and participated in the Capital Budget Committee meeting to review the financial articles for the special town meeting. Attended the public hearing hosted by the CRS-PPI Committee and the Select Board Chamber, highlighting the work of the committee and the information on the flood insurance. Sadly, no folks participated either by Zoom or in person. Participated in the pre-special town meeting article review hosted by MCM and the Select Board Chamber with our moderator Jim Fitzgerald and Town Council Bob Galvin. We reviewed the articles. Attended the Korean War Veterans Holiday Party at the Venus. December 30th, weekly call to discuss current events and review the Select Board agenda. Hosted the weekly meeting with the DPW to discuss several financial issues, including closeout of old funding articles, equipment, solid waste, overtime issues, recycling costs, and potential article in the spring to cover increase in trash fees. We also discussed a few personnel matters and additional munis training for staff. Participated in the Select Board meeting before town meeting at Marshfield High School. Participated in the special town meeting at Marshfield High School to deal with a number of financial articles, including free cash, MBTA zoning, accessory dwelling units, etc. We were prepared to host 2,500 voters, but around 800 people participated. Hosted my monthly department head meeting, reviewed the opening and closing of town meeting warrants for the annual and special town meeting in the spring. Talked about holiday hours, making sure that web pages are constantly updated, annual reports from the department heads are due, boards and committees and special district election on January 25th, 2025. Participated in the MMA discussion on accessory dwelling unit regulations that go into effect on February 1st, 2025. Hosted a meeting with Fred Russell to review requisitions, updates on town projects, including the fire projects, new bathroom at the library, and several school projects. Participated in a special select board meeting to approve the South River Park contract and approve the dates for the opening and closing, the annual town meeting and special town meeting in the spring so that we could get it in the newspaper in sufficient time. Hosted a meeting regarding Couch Beach with Craig Hannafin, Chair of the Conservation Commission, Mike Seal, the Conservation Administrator, Liz and Joe, Assistant Conservation Administrator. Meeting was to discuss options for the preservation of the area, security, new system for people to gain access to the area. This is a very fragile area. People have been entering and causing destruction, including fires and knocking over the porta toilets. Had a meeting with Greg Guimont to discuss the MBTA zoning and the accessory dwelling units. Participated in a walkthrough with the fire headquarters to review the construction project that included the replacement of the bathrooms and locker rooms. Project's about 65% completed. It's made a huge difference in the living arrangements for our men and women of the fire department. Participated in a video production by MCM with Dr. Tom Hickey regarding the South Shore Regional Vocational High School to answer a number of questions raised by our residents, touching upon the actual cost for the operation, the special district election on January 25th, the funding formula and potential debt exclusion, the new high school benefit, the MSBA process and potential contributions, curriculum, number of students accepted, benefits of being a member of the community, job placement, how many Marshfield students have been accepted for this year, how many have applied for next year. For more information, residents should be directed and may go to the town's website, click on the South Shore Regional Vocational High School, and we have about 8 to 10 items up there for their review. Hosted a meeting with Andrew Stewart, our building commissioner, to discuss accessory dwelling unit and potential warrant articles for the annual town meeting in the spring. Hosted a meeting with our treasurer and town accountant regarding town's FY26 budget. Treasurer has been working hard to get the budget to accurately reflect the necessary funding needed to operate each department for both personnel and expenses. This includes departments such as facilities and IT, which covers several shared services for our departments. I'm working with Town Council Bob Galvin to finalize our new fire chief's contract. I've been working with Danielle Kerrigan, our HR director, and my staff on the swearing-in ceremony for the new fire chief that will take place Friday, January 3rd at the Daniel Webster Estate. I'm working with our state delegation, State Representative Patrick Kearney, State Senator Pat O'Connor, to get the last portion of our charter changes to the governor's desk to be signed into law. This will complete the necessary changes regarding the Board of Selectmen being changed from Select Board and Selectmen to the Select Board. I'm happy to report that I received a phone call prior to our meeting starting, and that piece of legislation is on the governor's desk. I've also been working with our state representative and state senator regarding a filed legislation authorized by town meeting for 3 additional pouring licenses and 3 additional package store licenses, House Bill 5095. This is the last push before the legislative session ends at midnight on December 31st. Our bill right now is in committee on third reading, and I had some additional information taken into them today, so I'm hoping for swift action to get it engrossed in the House, sent over to the Senate. Senator O'Connor said he'll get it through the Senate, get it engrossed there, back to the House and Senate to be enacted and on the governor's desk by midnight tomorrow night. I continue to work with Sue Karen on a number of issues surrounding the South River Park project and the need for potential fill for this project. If it meets the necessary standards, fill can be used from the Veterans Park project. Finally, I've been working with our Plymouth County Treasurer regarding the closeout of the COVID clinic and expenses that need to be covered. Sean Strobel, our treasurer, has done a great job pulling together all the outstanding expenses and necessary backup of data over the last month for Plymouth County ARPA to review. As folks may remember, the town of Marshfield operated a regional COVID clinic at the Marshfield Fairgrounds where approximately 125,000 shots were administered to protect people all over our state. I'm happy to report that I was notified earlier today by Plymouth County Treasurer Tom O'Brien and the Plymouth County Commissioners that the town has been awarded $707,908 to close out the COVID clinic. I want to take this opportunity to thank Treasurer O'Brien, County Commissioners for all of their financial assistance, not only for this project, but all of their support with our CARES Act funding and ARPA funding that was used to purchase ambulances, 2 of them, a pumper fire truck, a bus for the senior center, air purification systems for the schools and town government, iPads, IT updates, and Chromebooks for our school students. All of these items mentioned were funded by Plymouth County at no cost to our residents. And the county was able to do this very effectively and efficiently, with their administration costs being only 1.5%, lowest of any governmental agency, managing and reviewing and passing out ARPA and CARES Act funding. So those are my reports, Madam Chair.
Thank you. And I know that we weren't able to hear your administrator reports on the 16th because we were short for time. So I appreciate all of that. And it'll be interesting to see how tomorrow goes on the governor's desk.
Yes.
Before we get started into our appointments, I want to just clarify that MCM is taping tonight. I believe I had already mentioned that. So the time is currently 6:58, and I'd like to welcome Dr. Hickey and Joseph Zambello, our board member for the South Shore VOTEC, to join us and share with what you have to say. I did listen to the link on your discussion with Michael, and I hope, did you get a chance to look at it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and as well. So, yeah, so I appreciate you taking the time, and I hope the public gets a chance to listen to that as well. It was
Certainly.
about an hour worth.
I appreciate
It was
your
great.
your endurance.
Well, there was a football game on, and it was a little, yeah, we'll just
Okay.
leave it at that.
Madam
So-
Chair, thank you very much. Joe and I have some slides, a presentation to make, and we're grateful for the opportunity to come and talk. As we know, we've got some important business coming up in less than a month.
Okay.
I want to thank Marshfield Community Media for helping put this presentation together for tonight. And also, they recently did some work with some students, and we have a brief video clip as part of the presentation as well. So I'll take a few slides, I'll turn it over to Joe, and then I'll go through the remainder of the slides.
Okay. Very good.
Yeah. So this slide here attempts to take a half a step back and a half a step forward just to orient folks to our school a little bit. The school was opened in 1962, the second oldest in Massachusetts. We currently have 684 students, which is our highest enrollment in school history, and we have a waiting list that, depending on the time of the admission cycle, could be anywhere from 75 to 100 students district-wide. All member towns get an initial allotment of seats for the 9th grade class based on the proportional size of the 8th grade class. Marshfield is the largest of the 9 communities, and so their apportionment is, for this upcoming year, is the largest of the 9 towns. That varies as we see 8th grade enrollment reports come through. Part of what I wanted to mention, just very briefly, most folks are familiar with the mission of the school. The special way that we arrange our curriculum allows for a real deep dive into the vocational areas. So if you know anyone that's gone to a vocational school in Massachusetts, they probably worked on an alternating week schedule, a week of academics and an intensive week of their shop, alternating throughout the year. And that allows for deeper skill training. It's a secret sauce that has worked for a lot of the voc techs in Massachusetts. Pivoting over to the MSBA project, we were, like many school districts, applying faithfully for several years, 2015, 16, and being told politely no. And then we were fortunate to get into the pipeline and be invited in 2022. And what we noted in our statement of interest, and what you've heard me talk about briefly in the past, is that the building is reaching the end of its useful life. Our shops are undersized, and we need additional space for the students who are there and for the ones who would like to come. On the right side of the slide are the 12 programs in white that we currently offer, and in our preferred design that we're bringing forward to residents, we would be adding a plumbing program and a veterinary science program. And this is just a little quick brag sheet. Again, focusing on the mission. We're very proud of the fact that kids are going to work right after they graduate. They're working a lot when they're still students of ours in terms of a very robust co-op program. And our students are graduating with any number of industry-recognized credentials, which goes back to the idea if you give them enough time, they can perform at an industry level. And those are some of our vocational programs. I certainly wouldn't read through them, but they are leaving with those credentials upon graduation or beforehand.
Okay, so I'll take it for a
Thank you, Joe.
few minutes, Dr.
So
Hickey.
Joe,
Thank you.
before you get
Yes.
started, you are a resident of the town
I
of
am a resident of the
Marshfield.
town, yes.
And could you just reintroduce yourself?
Yes.
For the record,
So
thank
first
you.
of all, to your point, Selectman Darcy, I am thrilled with the opportunity you guys gave me. It is so funny that sometimes you have to realize by volunteering how much you actually learn yourself. And this opportunity to represent Marshfield and learn more about our community and about the school and the opportunity for the children is absolutely fabulous. So I want to thank you, and I will be standing up at the podium at the next town meeting to say great things. So yes, I'm a town resident. I moved here in 2017. I worked at Fidelity Investments prior, spent a lot of time in the financial services industry. I have a background, I have a master's degree, and I also have a bachelor's degree in education, certified to teach in the state of Massachusetts. So I think all those things came together, which hopefully may be a good candidate to work with Dr. Hickey and his team and really look at the future for Marshfield. And I will tell you this, you're gonna hear in a minute from the students, because who cares what I say or even Dr. Hickey says. It's about the students, and you're gonna listen to these 3 kids. You know, they're 14 years old. I was there the day they filmed this. They went in unrehearsed, and they just rolled off their tongue how they feel about the school, what the school has done for them, and the opportunities they have. And I will tell you this, I was gonna do it at the end, I'm gonna do it right now. There's a lot of maybe bad blood in terms of government and so forth right now. This is an investment in our town, in our future. And I will tell you this, on January 25th, we have to vote yes. There is no choice. How are we going to afford it is not the question. The question is, how do we not do this for our kids? And you will see as you listen to these kids here and Dr. Hickey talk more, the future as another opportunity is with these kids. So if we could put the video on, that would be great. Caitlin, Julia, and Ben.
All of the freshmen, juniors, sophomores, seniors, all of the students I've met, for the most part, have been very welcoming and kind, and it's just a fun community. So when you first come to the school, you just start off in your regular academic week as a freshman, and you get to try each shop for 2.5 days. It's a very fun process. You get to see so many different aspects and get to do so many projects. I think it's just been an absolutely wonderful experience, and I don't regret applying and going to the school one bit. There's nothing about this school that I would be able to get from just my regular public school, and I have not a regret in the world.
The teacher was very patient, and you can like put hands on stuff and do things you never thought about it, like being on HVAC or doing cooking or meeting new people and how they work on stuff. It's so fun. I really am happy with the opportunity you can have on this school. Like, you cannot have this opportunity in any other place, so it's just, I'm never gonna regret the choice I made.
The thing I like about this school is all the staff, very nice. Everybody is accepting, all the students. Programs are run very, very well. I like that you can go out on co-op, you can go out on a real job site, work there, get experience, get hours towards a license or anything that you really want to pursue. When I came here, I was like, oh, I want electrical. I didn't really know much about it. And I went through electrical exploratory, had a lot of fun in there. I actually went through HVAC, and I was considering putting that as my first, but then I decided the real part that I liked about HVAC was electrical work. So I chose electrical, and I think it's going to be amazing. It's a great school, and I recommend that everybody apply here, run through exploratory, and even if you don't like it, you can go back to your regular high school, but that's all. I love Sashua Tech.
Before you go to the next slide, I happen to be there. It's quite an interesting process, and again, I'm being educated. You know, all these kids go through all the programs at the beginning of the school year to figure out what they like, and they get graded along the way, and the better scores they get gives them the opportunity for their first choice. Come the day I happen to be there. The day I happen to be there is a day when they got their envelopes, and all three of these kids got their first choice. You can't believe the joy these kids had that day. It was absolutely incredible. So I say, this is fantastic. On the same day is a day that I didn't get a pie. Next year I'm hoping to get a pie. But in their culinary area, they produced, 400 or 500 pies for Thanksgiving. And the amount of people coming in from the street to pick up their pies. I mean, Mr. Moscow, you've been there. It is quite impressive. But, you know, what I love about this school is it gives our community another alternative. And if you go to the next slide, please. You know, you start seeing some of the stats. It's always about the stats, right? You've got 38 kids from Marshfield right now, 30 in the 9th grade. But more kids are applying next year. So you could just shift to the right-hand side for a second. You've got 50 so far. It's a rolling number, so there could be some more, but 54 applications already for next year. 54 compared to 41 last year. You've got about a 40% increase of kids that are applying from our town. More importantly, 18 to 20% of the 8th grade class are showing interest in this. There is a huge set of interest for our students. And think about it. It's only the second year we're involved. We only have one class in there right now. What happens in 3 or 4 years? So I think that we have to say yes, and I think we have to do it for the kids. Again, another alternative, a different route. Even Dr. Hickey will show you, many of these kids go on to college. So this is, I go to the Voc school and I can never go. Many do. But it is really quite a well-run organization. I think if you go, you know, Selectman Kelly, you've been there, or if you haven't, you should go. It's fabulous. I think you may feel the same way. They have utilized, I think one of the last things I'll say about going to the school. Being on the ground, as you said, going to Lobster Fest, I rewatched Town Hall today. I'm retired, so I have time. Being there matters. And so when you go to the school and you realize they've used every nook and cranny they can, they've taken closets, they've taken offices. It is incredible how they've used the space. With a growing demand just from our town, this is the way to go. So I would say that please ask me any questions you like. And I thank you all on the board here for giving me the opportunity. It's just been fabulous for me.
Thank you.
Thanks, Joe.
Dr. Hickey?
Yeah. A couple other slides on our district's attempt to make stronger connections with our newest community. The left side shows some of the public outreach we've done. We really enjoy and our students thrive with public outreach. So whether it's the Council on Aging, veterans, or the food pantry. It's also our connections with local businesses, as we have great employer partnerships with co-op students, some alumni owning businesses in town as well. So although the first arriving freshman class is very recent, we certainly don't want to lose any time in building relationships with our new community. And now I'll fly through some slides regarding the building project. Some of them you may have seen before. Thank you. The lengthy MSBA process puts us a month away from the star in the center, the special district election, which we'll be sure to touch upon before we conclude. And this is where residents of all 9 of our towns go to the polls on the same day at the same time, and the aggregate vote determines if the project is approved. If it is approved, then we would go into a year of design, and construction would begin in the middle of 2026 with the building opening for the 28-29 school year. To orient you to this picture, that's our school from above Webster Street, Route 123 in Hanover, and on a limited site, that is the designated location for the new building on our athletic fields in the back. Another rendering of the same image shows our site with wetlands surrounding nearly all of it, and that buildable zone is where we ended up with the preferred design. Another rendering showing what the design would look like, bird's eye view, building in the back, parking in the middle, fields closest to Webster Street, which would be at the top of the screen. This is what the front would look like. It has a bit of a farmhouse theme to it. And as I indicated earlier, this would open for the 28-29 school year. And the next couple of photos will just show you a 3D rendering, again, over Webster Street. And then the next slide is a little bit closer view of the side of the school. We own our own school buses, and so part of what we had to do was to account for space to house our bus fleet on the campus. The next several slides will just show you again what the floors will look like. I'll just touch on it lightly. The first floor, very obvious. You would expect to see our heavy equipment, heavy industry programs. Anything in light blue is our vocational shops. And Webster Street, or the front of the building, is at the top of the screen. So we have our front-facing service programs, culinary arts with our restaurant, cosmetology with our salon, and what will be our new veterinary science program, with a central entrance that allows us better security when bringing the public into our school to take advantage of services. The second floor of the building, I might have a few, okay, thank you. Sorry to interrupt the flow there. The next slide is just one example of the specialized space that Evoke School, as you would expect, needs. So automotive is on the first floor, obviously, and it's on the corner, which will allow for multiple bays for vehicles to be able to come in and out of the shop footprint. Another image that it's not a very, doesn't jump off the screen to you, but I like this image because it's a reminder to me that as part of the design, when the design was refined with our project team, we put in an auditorium where there aren't enough seats to hold the entire school, but all those seats are retractable. And so this is our auditorium. It can be used for all the traditional things you would expect, but we can retract the seats and use the same space for wrestling practice, Credit for Life fair. We can bring heavy equipment in if we're doing some sort of a demonstration. So our general theme has been, what we've tried to emphasize is, we don't have a lot of underutilized space in this design. And to me, this is a hallmark of that effort to build something that's going to have multiple uses throughout the school year, throughout a 12-month calendar year. The second floor, a little more traditional, a few vocational programs that don't require high ceilings or bay doors, graphics or design visual communications, computer infotech, and allied health. You also start seeing darker blue science labs and traditional classrooms. Our gymnasium is on the second floor. Why? Not to interrupt the patrons of the restaurant below them, but we didn't have enough horizontal space. So in stacking the building with a partial second floor and then a partial third floor, the team made good use of that space. And the third floor is a partial third floor with our electrical program, needing a high ceiling and near a freight elevator, and then some classrooms. So it's a full first floor and then partial second and third floors. That takes us through the design. Design determination and cost. It took a while for us to get to this spot about getting to a new build, but essentially the biggest building challenges that we find with an aging building, limited space, programming that we want to be able to offer for the local labor market, security concerns, cost comparisons with addition renovation, and saying that if we're going to ask taxpayers to make an investment, we don't want to have to come back for a second bite at the apple with some parts of the building that might not be able to be attended to. And as you've probably seen with construction projects, or what I learned along the way is the amount of cost difference between an ad reno and something that's new, in some cases was more expensive, in some cases was slightly less expensive, but it was remarkably close. A lot of it having to do with a lot of the expenses that there's no value, like the rental of modular units or the duration of time in a fully occupied building, what that would take. So when the project team put the numbers together, I asked them to take a very close look. We spent a few extra months looking at the design as well as the enrollment. I don't want to gloss over the fact that the design enrollment is for 900 students. Again, another consideration that the state allowed us to study up to 975. 900 is a recognition of 9 communities in our district and a waiting list. I've said it in many occasions, and I'll certainly take a second to say it here, that if we're successful with this project, for financial reasons, I say to our school committee members and others that this does not become a 900 student enrolled school overnight. And I think I tried to even make the point, Michael, when we were talking, that just the mechanics of you're opening a building in 28, 29, you need your towns to approve an annual budget. That doesn't happen much earlier. And so you cannot over-enroll for that purpose. So I think it's going to be a slower roll when we can't outpace what operating budgets look like. But the ask here meets the demand that we're seeing right now. So I wanted to point that out as well. And in terms of the cost, this chart attempts to show two bookends, if you will. The left column is the total project cost, the MSBA maximum grant of $111 million. We estimate having to finance somewhere between $162 to $165 million. I think it's closer to the 162 in my attempt to explain that we do have stabilization money that we got reimbursed for and that we had been saving. And so at some point during the build, I think after we figure out what bond ratings might be, we'll have money, $1.5 million approximately, to be able to put back into not finance money that we've saved money for. Makes sense. A code upgrade cost, I asked the project team to take a very close look at this so that we could address if there's no state involvement and we were at some point going to bring the building up to code, the estimated cost with approximately the same escalation would be about $140 million. That's with, as I talked about earlier, even with an ad reno, that's also involving work done on a fully occupied building. But there are no new programs, there's no exterior upgrades. So that's really, to me, that's the delta between what we brought to the MSBA, what the MSBA said they'd partner with us on, and something that, while a code upgrade package is not an immediate thing, it doesn't happen, it's not a guarantee, it's likely the age of the building and what we would end up coming back with in terms of a bundle of projects. To get to that $111 million or that 276, which includes feasibility money, that's a little bit less. I'm very proud of the fact that we got a very high reimbursement rate for our maintenance practices. You can get up to 2 extra percentage points. We got 1.81. I will say, I think it would be appreciated here as well as I certainly appreciated it, but the MSBA acknowledged that we brought a new member community into the district and they added a little over 1% reimbursement. And there were some green school initiatives incentives built into that number as well. we were able to tell the estimators that our vocational students can handle not the big stuff, but we certainly don't have to carry money or finance some of the smaller repairs, horticulture, landscape work that the kids could be working on from the 28, in anticipation of 28, 29, and beyond. And we did some advanced value engineering as well. So I appreciate the work that has been done to get us to this point. All of the numbers are expensive, but I do believe that the team did a nice job in getting us to the point we're at now. Marshfield cost projection. This is close to the end of the presentation here. So as you know from special town meetings, we have a regional agreement that is now going to calculate based on changes in enrollment on a 4-year rolling average. Marshfield has a bit of an on-ramp before it gets there, so it's annually adjusted, and then it eventually transitions. I've been saying that based on a year of data and the next crop of kids interested, Marshfield could be about 16%, and that's with you don't have any sophomores or juniors or seniors. And then, in my opinion, I would see that number, that number would probably plateau. We don't know, but you start graduating seniors and bringing in 9th graders, that escalator would plateau when we have a full complement of students. The third bullet down, on our project website, we have some tax impact information. We've tried to show a couple different borrowing models. There'll be interest-only bond anticipation notes for fiscal 26, 27, and 28. And if you look at it as from it's easier for me to say it this way, but it doesn't have to, we'll make the decision in consultation with our towns, but the high watermark of level debt payments, based on the assumptions above, would put it at about $133 a year for the average assessed home in Marshfield using fiscal 24 data. Financing something level principal has its benefits, timing, the market, timing, in terms of paying more upfront and less over the life of the borrowing. But we hope that shows a level of detail, because at the end of the day, it's not about vocational education. It's about, I need to know how much this is going to cost approximately, when is this going to roll on. The interest-only payments amount, just to give you a perspective, Marshfield's share of, if we borrow to plan our cash flow, if we borrow $11 million in fiscal 26 and we pay $315,000 of interest, Marshfield's share of that would be about $17,000. In fiscal 27, that gross amount would probably go to around $65,000 to $68,000. So, and it's in fiscal 28 that, in my projection, is that's where the numbers start to roll on as the construction is really taking root. But we do have some information. If you go to the home page of SouthShoreTechProject.com, you'll see a link for tax impacts, and then each town has a breakdown. And throughout the month of January, would welcome opportunities to continue to talk to folks in town, but we'll be talking to the Marshfield Education Foundation, School Council at the Martinson, and the Boys and Girls Club. And as has already been mentioned, the special district election, January 25th, from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. In the high school gym.
All right, and there it is.
And there it is.
Thank you. I appreciate it. So folks need to know that this has been a process. Michael, we've been at this, and Steve can attest to this, for it seems like years.
It has, yeah.
So the process is really interesting to see how you limited, you had 30-something design choices in the very beginning, some
Yes.
immense number of
It was the
options.
enrollment range and the design choices,
Yeah.
yes. Yeah.
So I find it interesting, this is just kind of a quick, I find it interesting that when you are ready to get the kids into the school and you have a capacity of 900, that you're taking that conservative approach. And I really, really respect that, because it's kind of, when you have something new and shiny, you really want to get moving on it and show that you can get the kids in, because you want to help the kids, right? So can you just share with us what that means? So you're ready to move, you've got,
Sure.
because obviously some of the building is going to be maybe not you. That's
Sure.
what I'm trying to get at.
So it's Labor Day weekend 2028.
Yeah.
we should be ribbon cutting the new building,
Yep.
and we should have made plans that summer to migrate over. But we admit students in December, January, and February of the previous year. So in December of '27, January of '20, right around now. Well, right around now, there are no spring town meetings approving our budget. And so the best that I can say to people would be, we're going to be hopefully in bigger science labs. We're going to be in slightly bigger academic classrooms. But I don't anticipate being able to add more ninth graders. I could maybe add a few more 10th graders. We could balance things out because, again, they're on those alternating week cycles. But I think the conservative approach is, it's not that it's something we want to drag out unnecessarily, but we have to know that we have the town's support for an operating budget before we can enroll the students. And if we do a better job with retention, if we're graduating the same number of students that we're admitting, that also has to be factored in. So I could envision a fiscal '29 budget where I'm just not a gambler, and so I wouldn't say that, oh, yep, absolutely, because where do I go when all of a sudden we have more kids enrolled than we have teachers to teach them? So it's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
It's a no-brainer. And we build as we go along. We build the capacity, we build the enrollment. So that 180, that ultimately you could do the math and split the difference and say that's another 50-something students per year, but it's not going to be overnight. I mean, I've said it's just not. And until I know that we've got the ability to support an operating budget, we will do it as soon as we can, mindful of those limitations. And because of how we're admitting, like you talked about the fiscal year and the calendar year, we have to respect that.
Okay, so, and I think Michael can help, or Joe, on this as well. So we talked about the importance of what, we're now working on 26, right? So you're having, here it actually says interest-only payments for 26, 27, and 28. So, and you just briefly went over what that meant. So what we're talking about now, if you're basing on what it would cost to our tax, and nobody has the crystal ball at this point, right?
Haven't found it yet, no.
Haven't found it yet. So you're kind of pushing around $168 a year on principal payments per
Average house.
average house.
Yeah.
Right. And that's based on 24's data.
That's based on 24's data, and that's based on, so the 168 would be the high water mark. And again, it would be, if you take 168 and 133, using, again, taking all those assumptions gently, it would take you till about fiscal 42 or 43, when the level principal payments would drop and they would meet the level debt payments. And then the level principal payments would...
Things start to level out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But the circumstances would have to be right for that kind of aggressive borrowing to take place.
So, Michael, with the borrowing that we're talking about, where does Marshfield fit in? We're one of 9 towns. Can you and Dr. Hickey and perhaps Joseph Zambello share with us quickly, or maybe this is too complex to even say we could
No, but
revisit
so
it? So can you just...
I can give you just a little, because we've discussed it. So
Yeah.
we would, well, by the time we get to 28 and 29, we would be doing a debt exclusion.
Yep.
The challenge with this, and we've talked about, is do we do a debt exclusion every year to fund it, or do we do a debt exclusion every 4 years? Seems like the 4 years, because every time we go to market, there's a cost to go to market. So going with the 4-year rolling average, Sean Strobel, our treasurer collector, and I have talked about, maybe we do it every 4 years, but just to put the cost into perspective, because we're going to have people at home that are watching this tonight want to know how it affects them. So, when you take the average home, it's about $168. That's divided by 4 quarters. That gets you down to $42 per month. Okay, that's about $14 up, $42 per quarter, $14 per month, which is about $3.50 per week on average for the average home.
Okay.
And if you're in a multi-million-dollar house, then it would be, double or triple that.
Yeah.
But that gives a perspective. So, year 26, year 27, any costs, we can cover those with free cash.
Okay.
When we get into the bigger numbers, then we would need to do a debt exclusion. And we would, how the debt exclusion works, the select board votes to initiate the debt exclusion. We have the question drawn up, goes on the ballot, and the people vote to fund it.
So it goes on the ballot
Correct.
versus on town meeting?
Town meeting, well, debt exclusion, it's a twofer. You have to vote at town meeting.
And then-
Both have to be positive votes, correct?
Okay. So we'll cross that bridge. We're starting here on January 25th, and the town overwhelmingly supported this, so see what
Town
happens.
meeting did, that's correct. So the 25th, and it's an aggregate, so long as the yeses beat the noes, it moves forward.
So there needs to be 5 yeses to make.
It's by citizen,
By
it's
citizen.
by
By
voter.
citizens.
Total.
Okay.
District. Yeah.
Okay, very good. Anything you'd like to add?
Sure. I like that you said it's an investment. And some of the kids go to college, or some go into the trades, and I love that the training they do at the school is hands-on, and it'll help them figure out what their skill set might be the best fit for as an occupation. And there's a big shortage in the trades right now, especially for plumbers. So when demand exceeds supply, prices go up for the consumer. So the more kids can get into the trades, the better. One question I do have is, just because of the fluctuating enrollments, if a student is at South Shore Votech in 9th grade, are they guaranteed to have a slot in 10th grade?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Eric?
So, Mr. Zambello, to answer your question in regards if I've been to the school, I've been to the school several times.
Oh, great.
I've been to the school over the summer. I was elected as a select board member and took a long tour with Superintendent Hickey. Kind of perplexes me after my tour with him that we don't have a second option on the table in regards to this matter, because I think we've covered a lot in regards to spacing and all that, and to ease the cost on the taxpayers.
Can I what do you mean by a second option? You just lost me. The second option as far as what?
Instead of a whole new building, doing that on.
So there were so many design options that were part of the presentations as we've gone through this.
Who's gone through it?
This select board.
We've gone through all the presentations?
Yes, because it's
I haven't
been a
presented any
develop-
presentations.
Well, you came on board with the select board in May of this year, but if you look at the timeline that we have here in summer of 2021 and going on throughout, I can't
Hey,
speak.
send me
Yeah.
all 29 of those presentations. I'd like to take a look at them. If you have them on hand, send them to me. So, so how many seats are we adding?
We would go from the current 685 up, the design is for 900, so that would be 215.
So 215, so we're gonna spend almost $300 million for 215 extra seats, in my opinion.
With the state aid included, yeah.
Yeah. And in regards to the code upgrades, why do you have to do the code upgrades to the building?
It's not an automatic that we have to. That's something that would happen. We're looking at an aging building, and so it's the likelihood that at some point we would have to do these upgrades. And
But why? The building's already been built. Why would you have to do the code upgrades? What would be the necessity of it?
well, some of the upgrades are just because of aging infrastructure. So it's not like it's all ADA code upgrades. It's the idea that if we are going to move, if we're maintaining a building that's increasing in age, the projection when we did a capital facilities assessment 4 or 5 years ago was that there was some additional work that would be needed. I can get a little bit more in the weeds on that. I do have some folks here that studied it that could unpack the code upgrades if you'd like to spend a little more time on
Sure.
it. Yeah.
I think the general public would like to know what's going on here.
No, I think-
It's a
I
massive
think-
amount of money that
I
you're
ag-
gonna have to come up with.
I agree. I think talking about code upgrades allows us to get into the weeds, Madam Chair.
Sure.
Carl Franceschi is with our firm, Drummy, Rosane and Anderson,
Okay,
architectural firm.
Sir, if you'd like to take the podium, and then your voice would be better heard.
Wait, the podium, yeah.
Yes, thank you. And identify yourself for the record, please.
Certainly. Carl Franceschi with DRA. I'm principal with the architectural firm selected by the district. I think Selectman Kelly's onto something that's a semantic issue that maybe needs to be clarified. Code upgrade is not technically the right word because, as you say, the building is quote-unquote grandfathered. It exists. There's not a building inspector beating down the door saying you have to do these things. The better term may be base repair. The MSBA asks every district going through this process to create a baseline cost of repairing things that are less than today's standards. Sometimes that's the building code, sometimes it's just the standard of new construction or educational, acceptance, appropriateness. So, as was mentioned, this building is, from 1962. They've done a good job maintaining it, but there are certain things that we know are reaching and have reached the end of their useful life and will need to be addressed. And what happens, the likely scenario is that when something breaks, particularly think about plumbing that's behind walls or under slabs, in order to repair that, you start getting into, significant construction activity. And as soon as you touch something like that, you have to bring it up to current code. So again, that's generally triggered by fixing something. So that's why thinking of it as more of a base repair. And so to be prudent on the district's behalf, we think about the next 5 to 10 year window. What's the likelihood that some of these things are going to go? We know a portion of the roof. In fact, they were about to embark on replacing a major portion of the roof that needs to be repaired. Those kinds of things. They've done some window upgrades. We know the electrical system is beyond its useful life. And when you start adding up these costs, it does get to a point where you trigger a full building renovation. For accessibility reasons, for instance, if the district invests more than 30% of the assessed value of the building, the entire building has to be brought up to accessibility codes. And similar for structural issues. The building has, for instance, concrete block walls inside that are very solid and sturdy, but they don't meet today's code where the walls have to be seismically braced, so that they don't tip over and so forth. So these kinds of things, it's likely in the next 5 to 10 years that a full building renovation ultimately would be needed. And that's what adds up to the $140 million. And thinking about how would it get done in an occupied school, that's where it does involve renting modulars to create more space, because all the work cannot be done during summers or off hours. Some of it invariably will be done during the school year. And so when you take all those factors together, the hard cost of doing the work, some projections, we've worked with a construction company and thinking about how the project could reasonably be broken into small enough portions that students and teachers could continue to operate within the building while some construction is going on, beyond some reasonable construction barrier within the building. So it has been thought about in that way, with some escalation built into it, some projection of renting portables and displacement and moving costs in and out of the building. So hopefully that explains that, and all of that work or the majority, the significant amount of that work is not eligible for reimbursement from the school building authority, unfortunately. So the entire $140 million most likely is going to be borne by the district, whereas obviously the new construction gets a significant grant from the school building authority.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Perhaps we could just put up the slide again for new build versus code upgrade comparisons, if that would be. IT? Yep, thank you. So we can see here a little bit more about what you just said.
We should mention, too, that the so-called code upgrade or base repair does not really alter the arrangement of the building, the size of the shops. It doesn't provide the related classrooms that new shops would get, and it certainly doesn't expand the enrollment capacity of the building. In fact, it would probably reduce it, because to make certain things code compliant, like the men's and women's rooms and so forth, they would actually take a little bit more space. And so some of the shops would end up getting smaller. So it's not really an apples to apples comparison there in terms of what you end up with in these two options. But the cost, the 160 million versus 140 million, are the share of the cost the districts would bear.
And the previous slide also explained why a new build, and if you wouldn't mind just putting that up as well.
Yeah, these were some of the criteria that were used, and as was mentioned, the district and the whole design team, we did look at, I think it's like 6 different designs, 5 different enrollments. So when you do the metrics there, that's 30 different options. And we used criteria like these and many more to help evaluate those 30 options to get to the one that was selected as the so-called preferred option that was ultimately reviewed and approved by the school building authority as well as the local school committee.
Right, so the MSBA had a big part in this process, and that's what, and I understand Eric, he's been watching, but now he's really in the weeds, so if you could add any information to help him understand the path that we've come along to
Certainly.
get to this, that would be
Absolutely.
terrific. And I'm sure Eric has a bunch of questions, because do you want to continue? Do you want to meet at, I know.
We're going to be on this for a little while.
Well, perhaps maybe rather than being on this for a little while longer, maybe we could ask Eric to meet with you, and then you are going to
No, that
be-
wouldn't do the public any good.
Well,
The
but
whole thing
you
is that
have
we're
to-
not even having a
but-
town meeting on this, which would probably be
you
my
have
next
to
request to the board, is to hold
You
a
have
town
to
meeting before
understand, Eric,
this
that-
vote even takes
that
place.
This board also has the opportunity to acknowledge that Dr. Hickey has other social engagements with the town of Marshfield, correct?
In terms of outreach?
Yes, so you explain you're at the Boys and Girls Club, which would be a perfect opportunity for Eric and myself and Steve to join in. And what were the
Marshfield
other-
Education Foundation,
Marshfield
one of the
Education.
school councils.
And when are those dates?
I'd have to get back to you on that, but it's
Okay.
within the next 2 weeks,
Okay.
no later.
Okay. So I'd like to move along from this presentation and allow Eric to reach out to you. And if we need to have another meeting, then we'll add that to the agenda.
Certainly.
I will have to say that I do not agree with that, but as the chair, if you want to cut me off from asking any more questions, something, I guess that's your right, if that's the way you want to.
Well, I'd like you to ask your questions. However, I'd like to make sure that we all have an opportunity to ask questions as well.
I'm not stopping you guys from asking any more questions.
Well, I will ask more questions at a later date.
Well, all right, you can ask them at a later date. We're
Okay,
here right now.
So we're going
We
to
have
move
people
forward
here.
out of this presentation, and we will give our select board member another
Wow.
opportunity to reach out. It's currently 7:43.
Public's getting
Thank you.
screwed again.
I'd like to take a 5-minute recess. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion been made and duly seconded. Roll call is in order. Ms. Fidler?
Aye.
Mr. Darcy?
Aye.
Mr. Kelly?
No.
Okay, 2-1 for a vote, for a break.
So we will take a 5-minute recess. The time is 7:43. short recess at 7:45. And I am going to ask that the board
Reconvene.
reconvenes after our short recess. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion been made and duly seconded. Roll call is in order. Ms. Fidler?
Aye.
Mr. Darcy?
Aye.
Mr. Kelly?
I guess so, yes.
Yep. Unanimous vote to reconvene. We're
So the
back in.
time is 7:51. So prior to our short recess, we had an appointment, which was Dr. Tom Hickey's presentation for a South Shore Regional Vocational High School. And that was an appointment that was scheduled for 6:35. Our time is now 7:51. We didn't get started until 7 o'clock, I believe. But we're going into 6:45. We had a postponement, which was the Good Energy Rachel Ferdinand, and that's going to be at January 13th of 2025, correct? Did I get
Yes.
that right? Okay. So we're going to get into our action items at this point. And,
Madam Chair, if I may.
Yes,
since,
please.
Since Alexandra and Lieutenant Sullivan are here, maybe we can jump to number 2 first.
yes, and I had already circled that as well.
Okay.
So, our action item number 2, which is a discussion and vote on appointment of Alexander Forbes as permanent animal inspector and animal control officer. So, welcome, Lieutenant Sullivan.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
No, thank you for being here.
Get right into it. So, our former lead animal control officer, Courtney Ellis, has resigned. She's starting a new life as a mom. So we're happy for her, and we're thankful for all the service she gave us. She was here for about 5 years. Luckily for us all, we had Alexandra, who's back here against the back wall, as a full-time assistant since 2022. She's been here 2.5 years. And Courtney's FMLA maternity leave started in September. And since then, Allie has been taking over all the responsibilities in total for the entire department. She's been coordinating volunteers. She's been paying the bills for the shelter. She's been dealing with the public. She's been dealing with animal calls. She's even organized a rabies clinic. Allie's been fantastic. The board was gracious enough to appoint her as the interim animal inspector while Courtney was out, because that was one of Courtney's jobs as well, Courtney Ellis. And my hopes are that today that we can appoint Allie as the new lead animal control officer and take the interim tag off of the animal inspector to make her a full-time animal inspector as well.
Okay, thank you.
Of course.
So we have a letter here from you with your recommendation. I'm confident that Ally has the skill set, the personality, and the care and respect for the animals of this community to fill the vacancy as Marshfield's lead animal control officer. And I would agree with you. She's been out there with your boots on and doing your thing, and I've heard only good things about you. So that's great. Anything you'd like to add?
I've only seen great things from Allie, so excited for her to get bumped up to a top position. And we look forward to working with you. And you're doing a great job already, so we'll know you'll continue to do a great job. And happy for Courtney and her new chapter.
Mm-hmm. Eric?
Yeah, I mean, look, if Lieutenant Sullivan's willing to put his name out there to back somebody, then how can you go wrong, right? So it's the only thing I was wondering is that you said she was the interim. Does Allie have someone behind her coming up that needs to be, I guess, situated?
Yes, so hopefully we will be back before your board again with a request to hire her now vacant position, if she is nominated tonight, appointed tonight, as another full-time assistant under her. The animal inspector was a different piece, so Courtney was an animal inspector and an animal control officer. Animal inspector being quarantining of animals, barn inspections, things of that nature. You were gracious enough to make Allie an interim animal inspector, your board, in September when Courtney went out on maternity leave. So I was just saying I would like to take the interim tag off and make her an animal inspector. Without the interim.
Like I said, she's going to need someone behind her if she
Yes.
doesn't already have somebody.
Yes.
Does she want to come up and introduce herself?
Sure.
And let the public see
Okay.
her and
Sure.
say hi?
Hi.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Okay, I'd like to move forward, and I will make a motion that the board moves to appoint Alexandra Forbes as the permanent animal inspector and animal control officer. Do I have a second?
A second.
Motion been made and duly seconded. Roll call is in order. Ms. Fidler?
Aye.
Mr. Darcy?
Aye.
Mr. Kelly?
Aye.
Unanimous vote to appoint Alexander Forbes as the permanent animal inspector and animal control officer.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
You guys want to do a family photo?
Yeah. We could, Madam Chair, we'll take
Another.
quick break, and then we can do a
Okay.
photo.
Okay.
Thank you for your time and thank you for your support.
All right.
You're welcome.
I'd like to make a request for a 2-minute recess. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion been made and duly seconded. Roll call is in order. Ms. Fidler?
Aye.
Mr. Darcy?
Aye.
Mr. Kelly?
Aye.
Unanimous vote, 2-minute recess for a photo.
At the time is 7:58. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion been made and duly seconded. Roll call is in order. Ms. Fidler?
Aye.
Mr. Darcy?
Aye.
Mr. Kelly?
Aye.
Unanimous vote to come back from recess.
You want to take Ned out of order?
That's not here. That was the last joke of the
I was
year.
surprised, I was surprised he's not here. I was looking for him.
He's up getting I think I heard that he was going to do a New Year's Day, like, trail walk.
He is, but it's gonna rain and stuff like that. yeah.
Okay. Oh, let's do that.
I don't know if he's still doing it.
All right, so we're going to move into action item number 1, which is a discussion and vote on appointment of Thomas Grenham, William Morgan, and Daniel Burgess as special police officers for the town of Marshfield.
I don't know if Phil is there anyone, Madam Chair?
Yes.
You want to ask and see? I don't know if Phil might be on there.
Is Phil our chief of?
No.
police? Okay. All right, well, I'm going to just share with the public the qualifications of these 3 candidates for appointment of special police officers. And this is from our chief of police, Phil Tavares. So I'd like an action item on the next select board agenda for a conditional offer of appointment for 3 special police officers. The first is Thomas Grenham. He's retired as a lieutenant colonel of the Massachusetts State Police and Marshfield resident. He is post-certified and in good standing. The second is William Morgan, a retired lieutenant for the Norfolk County Sheriff Department and currently a special police officer in Hingham. He is also a Marshfield resident and is post-certified and in good standing. The third is Sergeant Daniel Burgess of the Medfield Police Department, set to retire this month. He has spent most of his summer in Green Harbor. He is post-certified and in good standing. I would like to appoint them as a special police officer up until the age of 65 to assist with traffic details and community events. Additional information on special police officers. In the case of special police officers who do not fall under the civil service rules, the chief of police, his or her designee, will assume the responsibilities of the selection. All retired full-time police officers in good standing under the age of 65 may be eligible to be special police officers with this department. Officers appointed as sworn Marshfield Police Special Officers shall have the ability to make a full custody arrest. Their required qualifications are the same as a full-time officer. They must possess at least a high school equivalency diploma and meet all state educational requirements at the time of the sworn appointment. All sworn special officers must have a minimum of a full-time MPTC Police Academy training certificate prior to effecting powers of arrest or carrying a firearm on duty. All special police officers retired from full-time must complete annual service requirements, first aid and CPR, and qualify with a firearm as required under the state law. They will also be governed by all the Marshfield Police Department policies and procedures and rules and regulations. All appointments of the special police officers will be conducted by the appointing authority, which is the select board. So we also have within our packet the letters from each of these candidates. Daniel Burgess, and he had 29 years with the Medfield Police Department. Prior to that, he was with the Rockland Police Department, and he attained the rank of sergeant in 2004, appointed administrative sergeant from 2013 through July of 2024, and responsible for the daily operations. So he has also worked, I'm just kind of simplifying here, but he also had an opportunity to join the department working special events and traffic details, and would be helpful to the Marshfield community. Daniel Burgess also has a lengthy history, and his resume is also filled with key parts to his life that I'd like to also add for the record. Dedicated, detail-oriented law enforcement professional with over 30 years of law enforcement experience, over 20 years of supervisory experience as a patrol assistant, administrative sergeant, and patrol sergeant for the Medfield Police Department. Committed to preventing crime and enhancing the community through community-oriented policing with integrity and transparency. Focused on empowering the community to engage with the police department and a shared goal of understanding. His experience: patrol sergeant, patrol assistant administrative sergeant from September 2013 to 24, and also in 2004 to 2013. Prior to that, he was a patrol sergeant, and prior to that, he was a detective and investigated any and all matters as requested by the chief of police. I was also pretty impressed by the amount of training these folks have in their careers, and that is also listed. So the professional training goes back from Police Reform Act for supervisors in 2021, red flag law, firearms legal updates, et cetera, active shooting 2010. And on top of it, he coached baseball, football, and basketball in Abington. Okay, Thomas D. Grenham, education, Anna Maria College, Western New England College, Bachelor of Science, Criminal Justice, 1991, Police Executive Research Forum, Harvard University Leadership and Homeland Security, September of 2013, New York City Police Counterterrorism Intelligence Operations, Policing Special Events and Special Initiatives and Investigation Training, May 2013, Anti-Defamation League, Northeast Regional Law Enforcement Counterterrorism Seminar, Israel, January 2013, Anti-Defamation League, Advanced Training School, Extremist and Terrorist Threats Course, Washington, D.C., December 2012, Louisiana State University, Weapons of Mass Destruction, Tactical Commander Course, July 2005. These folks are the real deal.
And Madam Chair, I
Yes,
just got a
please do
text from the
so.
chief. The chief is on if you want the
Okay,
chief to weigh in.
yes. So, I'm flipping pages, but I also would like to add in the teaching and lecturing experience of this individual, specialized training and commendations and awards, and 2012 City of Boston City Council official resolution for dedicated service. 2006 Superintendent's Commendation. 2005 Superintendent's Unit Commendation. 2003 Certificate of Commendation, United States Attorney's Office. And now we're getting into the 1990s, so. Moving on to William Morgan, and after I do this, we'll ask our chief to weigh in. So William Morgan is a Hingham Police Department Special Police Officer through May 2022, traffic control details, provide security at civic events such as July 4th celebration, provide police presence at large venues such as the Range and Hingham Shipyard. Lieutenant Training Officer, Metropolitan Law Enforcement Council Special Weapons and Tactics, training and education again, Braintree High School State Special Police Academy, 1988, and then back to Basic Reserve Academy, Cooper Institute of Fitness, and PTC Firearm Lead, a firearms instructor, Municipal Police Training Committee Bridge Academy Training Program. Awards, Metro Medal of Valor 2002, Metro Distinguished Service 2002, Metro Bravery Cross 2015. So, Chief, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Hello?
Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you, and our board can hear you as well. Can
Sorry
you?
about the
That's all right. So we have, I just read into the record the information I have from Thomas Grenham, William Morgan, and Daniel Burgess. Is there anything you'd like to add?
Oh, I just highly recommend them, and they're much needed at this time because we can't fill the details that we have on a request on a daily basis. So they're all in good standing, they're all certified, and they come at no cost to us whatsoever.
Thank you. While you're on the Zoom there, can you tell me how many current special police officers we have?
We have 3 right now, and 3 more will bring us to 6.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any questions?
Just one, Madam Chair.
Yes.
First, Chief, tell Bowie we say hello.
Sorry about that.
No, it's fine. I've been there. So I just have it's more of a recap and refresher. Could you just kind of recap again what or how the appointment of these special police officers is kind of in response to some state legislation that passed with the police reform?
Yeah, sure. So we lost our permanent intermittent program, our permanent intermittent program because all officers now have to be state certified as full-time police officers. All these individuals meet that criteria. The program that we had earlier, they only had to go to a part-time academy, and as a result, that's been done away with. So these are full-time trained police officers that can supplement our full-time staff when they're unavailable or they turn down the work. Because we get detailed requests every day, all the time, and there's dangers on the road, and they'll be there to assist us in filling these details so that the workers can get their work done and the motorists can be safe when traveling.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Eric.
No, it's just I like seeing the officers out there. Another, like you say, it's in addition to the staff that's already working in regards to having the police details out there. It's a benefit to the town. So I'm all
Yes,
for it.
thank you. There's no benefits that are paid to them, and they pay for all their uniforms and everything on their own. And it's a great supplement to our force, which is greatly needed. So thank you.
All right, thank you. So
Welcome.
I'd like to make a motion here. The board moves to appoint the following 3 police officers: Thomas Grenham, William Morgan, and Daniel Burgess as special police officers for the town of Marshfield up to the age of 65 to assist with traffic details and community events. All 3 of these officers are post-certified and are in good standing. The effective date of this appointment will be December 31st, 2024. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion been made and duly seconded. Roll call is in order. Ms. Fiddler?
Aye.
Mr. Darcy?
Aye.
Mr. Kelly?
Aye.
Unanimous vote to approve the 3 offices as special police officers for the town of Marshfield, effective December 31st, 2024.
All right. So we're moving into action item number 3, which is a discussion vote to sign a memorandum of understanding by and between the town of Marshfield and the AFS-CME Council 90, which is the local 1700 supervisory union. And I'm going to ask Michael to
So this
help
is,
us with this.
we settled, town meeting actually voted, we had presented to town meeting. We settled with the supervisory union, affects about 58 employees. The supervisory union is just that. These are people that hold supervisory positions, and they take care of people that are under them. And you'll see that they were listed here. We settled with them, same as we settled with all of our unions, 2, 2, and 2. 2% July 1st, 24, 2% July 1st, 25, 2% July 1st, 2026. And if you go through, you'll see that there's been some other changes. What was added was we added a half day before Thanksgiving. Most people take that off anyways. It's more cost effective for buildings to be shut down. On longevity pay, they had asked over 5 years, went from 75 to 125, and over 20 years, you went from 600 to 800. Compensation, if you're an assistant, an administrative assistant, and you're asked to do duties of a higher classification in excess of 5 consecutive workdays, on the 6th day and each day after that, you were changing the pay from $25 to $35 per day. There's been some changes in education. They had asked for an increase in the associate's degree, an associate's plus 30, a bachelor's and a master's degree. You see it went 3,000, 31, 4,000, 5,000. And those are really the changes, all within what we this is all funded within the operational budget. No additional dollars are needed.
So this is retroactive back to July 1st, 2024.
That's correct.
And we started this process back in,
23.
like, late of 20, yeah, okay. All right, any questions?
No, thank you.
Any questions?
Yeah, maybe I missed it. Is this different from what we approved at town meeting, or is it the same thing?
Same thing, yeah. We don't get into the weeds at town meeting. Because you signed the MOU, you get to see the MOU. All the contracts.
So this is already approved, you're saying?
Yeah.
Through town meetings?
Yep.
I mean, all right, I mean, if town meeting already approved it, then it's pretty much a done deal, so, all right.
Okay, so I'd like to make a motion on this one. The board moves to sign the memorandum of understanding by and between the town of Marshfield and the AFS-CME Council 90, local 1700 supervisory union. This collective bargaining agreement will run from July 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2027. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion been made and duly seconded. Roll call is in order. Ms. Fidler?
Aye.
Mr. Darcy?
Aye.
Mr. Kelly?
Aye.
Unanimous vote to approve.
Thank you. And moving on to number 4, the discussion and vote on contract language for charging stations in Town Hall parking lot postponed from December 16th, 2024, which was our select board meeting prior to town meeting. And we had a short discussion, and then we realized that time was of the essence. So, Michael, can you just bring us back to
Yes.
where we were and how this has
Sure.
come to be? Okay.
Madam Chair, I'm going to run
Yes.
through this. We're also joined by Michael Duffy.
Okay.
He's here to answer any of the tough questions
Okay.
that I would not be able to answer. Let me quickly go through. So we had a discussion briefly, what is this? We are getting 3 level 3 charging stations. Those are the quick charging stations. As folks know, we have 2 of the level 2. One of them is broken. They're about 5 years old. I'm not sure we're going to replace those. I did talk to Michael Duffy. If we wanted to get those fixed, they probably cost about $21,000 that we'd have to pay for. I'm not sure that we'd want to do that. I've got to look into it a little more. But we're here to talk about this Innovis Energy, and we would be getting, as I mentioned, 3 Adtel 120 kilowatt dual point maxi charger with a 5-year warranty, 5-year software plan, a 1-year service plan, and then we would be required for the annual O&M service plan, which is biannual maintenance checkup. That's about $3,600 per year. The total project cost is $458,908. We are getting a utility infrastructure incentive for $216,061. We're getting a utility EVSE equipment incentive for another $240,000. When you subtract those out, that leaves $2,847, which the town is responsible for. That's a one-time charge. That's, for the equipment and everything. Everything else, installations, all covered in that. We would be responsible for the $3,600 a year O&M. But I would recommend that we would, of course, have that. It's turnkey. They would get it all set up. And I know Mr. Kelly had asked how much does it cost for a resident to charge their vehicle at the level 3 charging port. And Mr. Duffy was kind enough to send back, as stated prior, it is dependent on what you would like to charge. So we set the rates in the town. On average, you can make anywhere from $0 to $20 per session, depending on what we wanted to tack on. The reason that that's a big issue is anyone that know, when we got the original level 2 chargers, that was a incentive grant from the state, which required us that those would be free because they were trying to get people 5 years ago. Today, it's like, quadruple the amount of people that use electric vehicles. So we're able to add money onto that for us so that, we make some money that would go towards covering the $3,600 charge. A lot of people would be wanting to line up to do level 3. Anyone that has an electric vehicle, the level 2s, I believe it's 1 hour for 10 miles. And so it takes a while to fully charge. So that's how we could decide. So it's the normal electrical charge plus we could add on anywhere from $0 to $20 per vehicle.
Okay. Before we get into this a little bit more, but, and perhaps our rep up there can help with this, but, so this is a Massachusetts Commercial Electric Vehicle Charging Program. So we'll become the site host as we have in the other, and there's a license agreement. So when we go through the process of this, we also have a site plan that explains what exactly we're going to be doing here in the parking lot.
That is correct.
And then you and I did discuss about the level 2 and the level 3 and how that was
Correct.
going to play out. Provide and install site host obligation. So we're obligated as well, once we do this, to
Correct.
have everything in place and
Yep.
do what we're supposed to do. So I just find it really awesome that we don't have to pay all of this upfront cost, and we're down to $5,000 some odd dollars a year in costs to the town, and hopefully we'll be able to revamp that back.
Which we could revamp by setting a, whether
Once
it's
we figure
$10
that
per
out.
car, $20 per car.
So incentives and third-party funding, these are things that are part of this, but indemnification, et cetera. So why don't we have, I can't,
Sure, we're joined by Mike Duffy and Tony Parente.
okay. Mike, can you hear my voice?
Yes, good evening. Thank you for having us.
And Mike, can you just share with the board and the public your position and who you work for?
Sure. My name is Michael Duffy. I'm not a resident of Marshfield, but I love your beaches. I work as the president and owner of Complete Energy Services, and Tony Parenti's here with me as our subcontractor and EV specialist.
Okay, thank you. So when we look at the site plan that you've provided to us, and our board has as well, we have existing utility poles. We're noticing a proposed trench length of 150 feet. The distribution cabinet is proposed. And then we have 3 L3 dual ports, pedestal mount EV chargers. So those will be on the far side of our parking lot, and those spots will be dedicated only to those L3 charging stations. Is that correct?
That would be correct. They'd be signified as EV charging stations only for EV cars.
Okay.
And utilized by the town, by the townspeople, public access, and so on.
So if there are 2 per, then 2 cars can sit parallel to each other and use the charging station. Is that correct?
That is correct. So you'll have access to 6 arms of charger.
Okay. And we have the rebates that you've provided us with, and the third-party funding, we're not quite sure where we're headed to, but Eversource EV Make Ready program is part of the pre-approval letter in Exhibit C. Is there anything else that we need to know to move forward on this? Scheduling,
yes.
all these things? Yeah, go ahead.
Absolutely. Time is of the essence, unfortunately. We've provided this with the understanding that this is, well, it was going to be installed in the 2024 year, excuse me. And we're not sure where the utilities are going with their incentives in 2025. We've executed some documents, but not all the required documents that you have in your hand in order to move this project forward.
Okay.
So we are confident right now that this is where the incentives will stay. We don't know what's going to happen if we delay past 2025 or into 2025.
Okay, thank you. So Michael will be in touch with you, and you'll work side by side.
Right,
And
all
you'll
we
be
need
the
is the
catalyst for
board,
this.
right, in order to move this forward. If we don't vote tonight, then we probably will lose out. The incentives expire on the 31st.
Okay, all right, thank you. Anything you'd like to add and share?
No, thank you.
Okay, anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, yes. Why are we not using the current area for the new EV charging stations?
From my
These were
understanding,
just
I'd
a
have to-
better area to put them in.
I mean, my concern is that we have 3 stations and you're going to dedicate it to EV parking only. So that's going to be 3 to 6
spaces.
spots.
Yep. We have plenty of
That'll be
spots.
lost,
Yeah.
especially if we have meetings here. People may, especially those driving a gas vehicle.
No, but at night,
all
people,
driving still.
at night, people park in the bank, they park in the supermarket, they park in the post office. We've never not had spaces for people.
Let's put it this way. There's a meeting, all right, it's dedicated spot to EV. Are we going to penalize the person with the gas vehicle that parks in there if they're at a
No.
meeting? Okay.
We don't do that anywhere in town.
And like I said, I'm trying to understand why we're not going where we currently are right now. And then earlier that, because I mean, you're running a whole line all the ways from one side all the way.
It's all
over.
covered within the, it's all covered within.
Oh, no,
the
no,
incentive.
I get all that.
Yeah. Remember, the other charges still work, so we can keep the other level 2 charger.
But are we under obligation to keep it? I mean, couldn't we just take whatever they, I mean, you already have all the wiring there for whatever they got here, right?
Are we obligated to keep the 2s? We own those, so I'm not gonna repair the other. If we wanted to replace both of those with the ones that people swipe a credit card, That's about $21,000. I don't think it's worth the money
What are
to spend.
what are we talking about right now?
Upgrade it
These
to
are
a
level
swipe.
3 charges. These are fast charges.
Okay,
And these are going on the other side of the parking lot.
We have L2s
no,
right
I get
now.
all that. So I'm like, so I'm just saying, the ones that we currently have out there now, that's.
One's
hooked up-
dead, one doesn't
Yeah,
work.
one's dead, but it's hooked up, you're not paying. So,
But it's an hour for 10 miles.
on the ones that we currently have.
I
Yes.
believe so.
Right.
Tony or Mike can answer how quickly the charges, I forget what they
Are
said,
we
how
charged?
quickly they charge.
Are we is there a charging mechanism on the new ones?
They would have to swipe a credit card and pay the charge, and then we can add a fee onto that, up to $20 per vehicle.
Up to 20.
Yeah, and the reason we would want to do something like that is because, remember, we have to pay annually the $3,600 for the O&M service plan, which includes biannual maintenance and checkup, so.
So we gotta pay a monthly fee, a service fee,
Mm-hmm.
and then,
Not monthly, yearly.
I mean, excuse me, yearly. And then you say up to 20, and
If I can jump in?
be my guest.
Sure. Thank you for, again, the opportunity. So the charging station itself, for the level 3 as proposed, you can charge any amount of money for anyone to access that. Now, it's public access, obviously, you don't have gates to block or prevent anyone from coming in. I know you have motivation to move towards a fleet in your town, so it gives enough access for your town vehicles to charge as well as the public. Where it's located is kind of off, away from where the general people would park to use the town hall facilities. It's kind of removed, it's better in a safer environment, I would say, because it's kind of off into the back where people aren't going to necessarily walk to the town hall front door. In addition to the charging, Michael's kind enough to frame what I suggested for the charge. You can charge any rate. You could charge no additional cost. You could charge nothing at all and allow it to be free if you so choose. You have the ability to manage that cost structure. So you might have, during the 4th of July, you might decide to make it free for charging, or any special events, and you would like to offer that as a service or on the town. Or you could charge $100 per kWh. You may not get people to charge there, but you have the ability to do that.
So let me ask you this much. Let's just use the rough number of $20. Is that gonna cover the electricity usage that the car's gonna take to charge fully, I guess, let's say fully charge?
Yes, so it's very similar to buying groceries or any commodity really. You're gonna go where you get the most bang for your buck. So you might have people in rotation waiting for other people to move out of there because your price is cost effective to them. Now, I drive a fully electric truck, and it takes me on my level 2 charger, it takes me about 7 to 8 hours to go from 0 to 300 miles. On a level 3 charge, it only takes me about an hour to charge, 0 to 300 miles. And what I expect to pay is probably around $30 to $40 if I'm at a DC fast station. If I'm at a level 2 station, I don't expect to sit in a parking lot for 8 hours at a level 2 station. I would charge enough to get home. That might take a half an hour to an hour, and then I would charge at home from there. I don't know if that helps.
No,
It does.
I think you gave a decent picture on it in regards to it. I guess the only thing I mean, kind of questioning everything here, but why aren't we doing it like where the town vehicles park? I mean, it's right there.
Because now it doesn't matter. It comes off that pole, so either there or there. The town vehicles park in that area. I have the sheds in that area. This is off to the right of it, in between the bank and us.
I'm just looking at that. The further they go, it's probably cost factor. It's driving up the cost at what, 400 grand? I think
We're not
You're not
paying.
that.
Oh, I know you're not paying it.
Right.
I mean, you're
all
right.
part
I
of
mean,
this.
actually, we are
So-
paying it with our tax dollars, I'm sure, but it's all right.
Only thing just to be clear, the
Yeah.
only thing the tax dollars are covering is $2,847, which is the difference between the grants, and $3,600 a year, which can be offset by what we charge to the charge.
No. I get that. I'm talking about like regards to the
Yeah.
458,000. I'm sure at the state, it's our tax dollars that are covering that 458 as well. Let's put it this way. I can roll with this if we set up a cost point, a price point on this. And then I guess we'll just have to figure out over the next couple of years how much gets used.
And we can adjust, if the 20's not enough. I mean, you heard that we could do 30 or 40.
Well, I mean,
He had
let's put it-
suggested 20. He did like a mid.
No, I get that. And the whole thing is that I think he's absolutely correct when he says 30, 40, because, I mean, look, if I go to fill my car up, I'm spending probably $100, if not more. You're gonna get a charge for $40 for 300 miles. It's probably a steal. It probably charge more than that, compared to what we're paying in a gas vehicle. So, I think that's something that I think as a select board that I think we should discuss in regards to a price point on this,
So right now, we're hoping this works. So you're going to be the point man moving forward on this. So we can add a motion into this for a $20 base fee, but I don't know that that's going to be.
Or 30 or 40. I mean, we could do, both Mike and Tony, that was a suggestion of the 20, because I asked them, what would be, reasonable, and they thought that was reasonable, but, to Mr. Kelly's point, I mean, we could certainly do 40. I think people are still, if we charge 40, people will still charge there because it's fast. So they'll pay a premium because it's fast.
So do we do this now where it's unsure, or do we revisit this based on a price point later, is my question.
I think we approve it tonight, and then as it's close to being finished, being built, we pick a price point. I don't know if it would be best to have Sean Strobel or Michael or Tony do some sort of economic analysis and figure out the
Explain
optimal.
details.
Yeah, their
Well, they
expected
would,
usage.
Mike and Tony would be able to do that. Our people wouldn't, because they're more well-versed.
Yeah.
We would have to decide once we go public. You can ask them. I'm not a select.
Yeah.
I don't want to, but you can ask them what the process is and when we have to pick the price.
Can we just interject again I'm sorry we're doing this to you, but, so the process, we just need to understand. So if we pick a price point for a charging station, you've got 6 there. If we pick a price point somewhere between $20 and $40, a car has the ability to park in that spot, retrieve the energy, and then they can stay there all day. They can, where does that car leave the spot? That's one question I have. And how do we revamp the $30 or the $40 through our municipal funding?
Yes, absolutely. Great questions. So to address the first question, you're charging based on a kWh drawn from that charging station. So whatever energy is used, the customer expects to pay X amount per kWh to charge their car. So when we're talking about $20, $30, $40, $50, it just depends on how long that person will stay at the charging station. So if they're only there for 5 minutes, they might only use $4.50 worth of energy, and they'll be on their way.
Right.
So the fee comes from the amount of time in the amount of minutes per charge. So, for example, if you're paying 22 cents per kWh as a town, your residential, your business, what have you, you may want to charge 22 cents per kWh brawn plus an administration fee of 5 cents on top of that. So effectively, you're going to charge 27 cents per kWh.
That makes sense to me.
So I'm sorry I didn't say that earlier.
Nope, I'm glad we asked.
Okay, great.
So if our motion was to do that, does it affect anything from your end in the process of agreements?
No, so we teach you how to fish. So we'll let you know how to work the software, how to manage it, and then you determine if you need to make tweaks to that. So if you don't have a lot of people going there to charge, you may drop your rate a little bit. If you have too many people there, or you could use special programs, for example, your town workers might have a card or a code that they can punch in and get charged nothing while they're using a company vehicle or a fleet vehicle. There may be special promotions in town where they can type in a code and so on and so forth. So you manage the software, you manage and control the pricing for what your goals are.
Okay, that sounds reasonable.
We're totally out of it at that after installation, except as a reference and a resource.
Okay, thank you. So can we revisit this again? So if I change the motion, and Michael, you may have to help me with this.
Yes.
At the kilowatt hours at 22 cents plus the 5 cents would get us to a 27 cents per kilowatt hour. Did I say that correct?
Yes.
Yes, that's what I said, but it was only an example.
It's an example. So
Correct.
let's try to be a little bit more conservative at this and say 30 cents per kilowatt hour with the, once we get this started, then
We can revisit
it.
in 6 months to see, you know, what are we taking? How many people are using it?
Yeah.
It makes it more simplified, and then we can just have that as a baseline to go from.
Yeah, I still think we have time too. If we just approve the agreement tonight,
Yeah.
we can always pick the price later on.
Well, let's just start here, and then at least we have a go-to number. Okay?
Yep.
Just one more.
Sure.
How long is this contract for with Innovis?
Well, the thing was for 5 years.
5 years.
Warranty, 5 years, yeah.
Yep, the warranty's for 5.
Oh, warranty's 5. So,
These people just install, and then we have the O&M insurance.
all right, so the warranty's for 5, so so there's no contract, so I mean,
Well, there's,
you
So
want
there's a contract for the installation.
installation. But after that, it's what? It's ours?
It's ours, we own it.
and the software becomes our responsibility, and
Correct.
it's
That's why we
ours
do
to
the O&M
maintain.
insurance, correct.
Yeah,
Okay, and then,
which is good.
but they, so they'll maintenance it on the warranty for 5 years.
Correct.
You gotta remember that the price point here is 3,600 puts 2847, so that's 6247.
For the first
For
year,
the
and then after
first
that,
year.
it's 3,600, because we only pay the differential once,
Yeah.
the 2,000.
Excuse me, this is Tony. I'll do a little more clarification.
Thank you.
So, no problem. So,
Tony, your
thank you
your last name, please?
for Parenti.
Thank you.
So, what happened with everything going on is it's an all-in proposal, as you see. Utilities covering almost everything. In that, you get the software for 5 years. It's all covered, no expense out of the town. the warranty for the parts and all that stuff is covered. You will see your cost is at 28 change, and then the 3,600, that is for ongoing maintenance and making sure the system's up. And that is something that Innovus provides free for the first year. And then after that, you have the option to renew that if you like. What that covers is we go out to the stations at least twice a year. We open them up, we clean them, vacuum, we do a lot of that stuff. And we do all that, and that's the, the general service that really needs to be done, because the power is so much greater than a normal level 2. That's why we have the transformer and all that. So we want to make sure the uptime is very good in the high 90s, and to do that, the Autel, they recommend the general service twice a year, and that's what that 3,600 would cover. Again, you can choose not to renew that after the first year, and that's up to you guys. Does that make sense?
It does. So it's a biannual maintenance and checkup is what your agreement says in your estimate.
Correct.
Yep.
Man,
Okay.
the cost is not. It's not
So the
bad.
first year is free. And then
Correct.
the following years, we have the option to keep it or decline.
Correct, and every year, so let's say you opt to accept it the second year, but the third year you decide not to, that's fine. It's an annual basis that it would renew, and that's when you can choose to accept or decline.
Okay. I'm fine with that. Are you fine with that? Are you fine with that?
Like $3,600 a year, that's a lot of money right now. I mean, I don't even know what we're gonna be generating for revenue out of this. I mean, granted, we're getting this thing for, well, I mean, townwide, it's under 2,900, and then there's a potential for revenue, but we don't know what we're gonna get, and then we're gonna be paying the second year, I believe it is, 3,600 a year, just to maintenance it. I'm sure they have to be maintenance.
Everything, we pay maintenance on everything. Computers, it's ongoing, yep.
I mean,
Everything costs money.
no. I understand all that. I mean, it's like our own
Yeah.
cars and everything.
Yeah,
like
well,
that. The whole thing
we
is
want to
that
be able to,
the whole thing is the one thing I guess I'm wary of is getting a return. And that's the one hang up I have, is I don't know if we're gonna get a return to justify this expense.
These will be in high demand. Level 3s are in high demand. Only places that have
searching
level
these.
3s are like on the Mass Pike.
well, why don't we do this? Why don't we make the motion and you can
Yeah,
ponder it?
all right.
I just want to make sure that the kilowatt hours at 30 cents.
I would add it right after accessible charging stations with a charge of 30 cents per kilowatt hour.
Oh, you know what? Something was one thing that I think hung us up the last time was the utility infrastructure incentive. It had the small 6 there. Did we ever get?
Are you talking about a footnote again?
Yeah, thank you. The footnote. Did we ever get an answer on that? That's all right.
Tony, we're gonna just bend your ear on.
Yeah, I'm not in front of my computer, I just finished coaching.
Okay.
But if I remember right, I think we removed it because that shouldn't have been there, if I remember
So-
right, and I can double check that for that. For
Okay.
Okay, so there's no 5, there's no 6.
Yeah, so you have just 4 footnotes
There's only
on this
4
page, and you have a footnote for just the number 6, and that was,
Oh, okay.
That was
Probably
it.
forgot to, yeah,
Okay.
sorry about that, that's probably my bad.
all right.
Also, you were talking about if you're gonna recoup the 3,600, quick numbers, if you made $20 per charge, you have 6 ports potential to charge at the same time. If you had 3.4 ports charging once a week, that would actually cover the 3,600. So from what I've been doing, we've installed over thousands of level 2s and a few hundred level 3s. I can pretty much say you should make minimum the 3,600 back. I think you're gonna make a lot more than that, but just being conservative, if you're gonna have 3.4 cars charged once a week, for 52 weeks, you would recoup that 3,600. And again, the first year is free, so by the time that year ends, you're gonna figure out where's the correct price point, you know, what's the best times people charge, and then you'll have all that information to make an intelligent decision if you should continue the O&M or not.
What, as you're pulling this up, what is, all right, so we're set on 3. Would there be a problem going with 2?
What are you talking about?
2 charging systems.
That's the deal, comes with 3.
3 dual.
If you did go to 2, that's an option, but your price is gonna go up about $45,000 because the way the utility incentive works is based per port. So you would lose $120,000 from the incentive if you go to 4 ports instead of 6. And the difference of the piping, the wire, and the install is not 120. So in the end, it's actually going to cost you guys a lot more if you reduce that number.
I get that. All right. All right, I'm good.
All right, let's move forward. So Michael, would you reiterate the motion?
Sure, you want me to, so the motion would be, the board moves to approve and authorize the installation of 3 120 kilowatt dual port maxi charger DCFC publicly accessible charging stations with a charge of 30 cents per kilowatt hour, level 3 with a 5-year warranty for town hall parking lot, and furthermore authorize the town administrator to sign the contract.
Okay. We'll accept as Michael, our town administrator, just reiterated. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion been made and duly seconded. Roll call is in order. Ms. Fidler?
Aye.
Mr. Darcy?
Aye.
Mr. Kelly?
No.
Okay, 2-1, motion passes.
Okay. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'll
Have a
get
great
this,
night.
I'll get this off to you tomorrow morning.
Excellent.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, number 5. Discussion and vote on request for permission to hold 15th Annual St. Patty's Day 5K in Brant Rock on March 15th, 2025. This is Marshfield St. Patrick's Day 5K Race Committee. So the 2024 Race Committee is identified, and the outline is here for the board. Setup and location is as it has been in years past, but I will share for the record 3.1 mile loop in Brant Rock and Ocean Bluff areas. The race starts at the Esplanade in front of the Venus and the Hop, with announcements planned from the deck of the Venus too. The race finish comes all the way down and heads back and ends again on the Brant Rock Esplanade just past the jetty on the opposite side there. The water and food for runners set up on the southern end of the Esplanade for ease of access, and a water station will be set up at the midway point in the parking lot at the intersection of Plymouth Ave and Ocean Street. The timing is that it starts at 10 a.m., and the race committee requests Marshfield Police block off the Esplanade at 8 a.m. and assist with traffic flow and control. Expect 3,500 participants, runners, walkers, baby strollers, dogs. Encourage everybody to stay toward the pack. Each year, the participants are strongly encouraged to park at the Governor Winslow Elementary School in coordination with Miss Karen Hubbard, the principal, and her staff, or the town pier lot. Additional parking is provided at the town's beach lot and the Brant Rock Chapel lot, subject to their permission annually. The bus routes are as follows: Topman Enterprises, and typically they have 3 to 4 buses shuttling participants from GWS down Careswell Street to Dyke Road, taking a right onto the pier road and looping back up Island Road at the end of the Esplanade for drop-off. The buses then circle back the same route to the GWS to avoid the race start area. Every year, Marshfield Police and Fire do a great job. The details that they use to support the race and control the traffic flow in the crowds. We have that. They also have support from their local restaurants and their sponsors, the Venus, the Brant Rock, Hop, the Jetty, Hat Ads, And post-race award ceremony is solicited each year. I believe it'll be at Haddad's. Trash, recycling, cleanup, and they do a great job at just going through and checking. Volunteers scan and check. And of course, our DPW is nice enough to provide the trash and recycling bins. And it's usually completed by noon each year. The porta potties are there as well, and they're 15 by patty potties, and that's something they do I think they do it every year. 2 detail officers will be posted at the west end of Brant Rock Esplanade and a detail officer at the east end of the Brant Rock Esplanade to ensure the safety of the runners at the beginning and end of the race. We will have a detail officer to block vehicle traffic traveling east on Plymouth Ave, a cruiser motorcycle at Setauket Ave and Webster Ave, assist with traffic exiting the Brant Rock neighborhood, a cruiser motorcycle blocking traffic west on Ocean Street, a roving cruiser motorcycle to assist with other safety police. And of course, if there's any questions, Lieutenant Arthur Shaw and Captain McDonough, Chief Tavares, and Officer Rady are ready to help everybody. DPW, again, is part of the contact the Mass State Police Bomb Squad as well. They had last year to ensure the safety of the event. The fire will require the same detail as last year, 1 supervisor, 2 paramedics, ATV, EMS, SUV, and that's through our Fire Chief, Mike LaSalva. And I reached out today to Chris Shugru, and he is working with John Gilberti and taking over leadership of the Marshfield Education Foundation's race committee. So I wished him well, and I'm sure they'll have a great event. And he's got everybody there to help him along the route. So, okay, and there it is, another year.
Yep.
Anything you'd like to add?
No, thank you.
Anything you'd like to add?
Wish everyone well.
Thank you. It's always fun. Okay, the board moves to approve on behalf of the Marshfield St. Patrick's Day 5K Race Committee, the 15th Annual St. Patrick's Day 5K in Brant Rock for March 15th, 2025, with an inclement weather date of March 29th, 2025, to benefit the Marshfield Education Foundation, which is the MEF. The race will begin at 10 a.m. with the Brant Rock Esplanade being blocked off at 8 a.m., with the roadways being reopened by noontime, pending sign-off from the MPD and MFD. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion been made and duly seconded. Roll call is in order. Ms. Fidler?
Aye.
Mr. Darcy?
Aye.
Mr. Kelly?
All right.
Unanimous vote to approve.
Number 6. Starting to lose my voice. Just giving you a heads up. Don't know. Discussion and vote on application for temporary entertainment license, Friends of the Marshfield Dog Park, 35 Proprietors Drive. We're looking at Sunday, April 27th, rain day of May 4th. Food trucks, Slack Tide, and Al's Barbecue will park on the paved area. This will be on the town green. And it's a vendor fair with, and dog park fundraiser. Live music, estimated 50 to 75 folks. Outdoor, there will not be a tent, there will be food served, as I just mentioned, and potential demonstration by the canine officer and local dog trainers. No issues from fire, as long as the food trucks present have been inspected. And that's through our fire chief, Michael LaSalva, and then we also have no issues from our police department. And that's it. Any questions or comments?
Looking forward to Al's Barbecue.
Oh, that's right. I know I missed
That's for
the
humans,
barbecue
not
this
dogs.
year. Any questions or comments?
I know it's at the dog park, but is there any, like,
It's not at the dog
Meaning-
park. It's,
I mean, right. So
It's here at the
Friends-
Green.
Friends of the dog park. Is there any? Is it just a fundraising event for it, or?
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Okay.
okay. So you're all set?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. The board moves to approve an outdoor temporary entertainment license with live music for Erin Fitzpatrick of Marshfield for Friends of the Marshfield Dog Park for their vendor fair to take place on the town green for Sunday, April 27th, 2025, from 9 a.m. till 5 p.m., with a rain date of May 4th, 2025. Anticipated food trucks to be slack-tied in Al's Barbecue. Trucks are required to be parked on paved areas. No tents will be set up, but food will be served. Pending sign-off from MPD, MFD, Board of Health, Marshfield Historic Commission, and the Building Department. Marshfield Fire Department requires that the food trucks must have been inspected. It is further required that an application for use of the town green be submitted to the Marshfield Historic Commission for their approval. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion made and duly seconded. Roll call is in order. Ms. Fidler?
Aye.
Mr. Darcy?
Aye.
Mr. Kelly?
Aye.
Unanimous vote to approve the outdoor temporary entertainment license for the Marshfield Dog Park.
Okay. Number 7 is a charity. Discussion and vote on request for permission to accept 4 donations on behalf of Veteran Services. And we have $200 from Suzanne Batigi, $1,000 from Mr. and Mrs. Eugene Spriggs, $100 from Mr. and Mrs. Joseph Hanlon, $200 from Mr. and Mrs. David Murray. Questions or comments?
No, thank you.
Other than this is terrific.
Yes.
Any questions or comments?
I will go with your comments, Dale, and
Okay.
this is terrific, yes.
Really? All right, the board moves to accept on behalf of the Marshfield Veterans Services the the following 4 donations. $200 from Mrs. Suzanne Batigi, $200 from Mr. and Mrs. David Murray, $100 from Mr. and Mrs. Joseph Hanlon, and $100 from Mr.
$1,000 is a
Oh,
Scribner's
that's a
error.
Scrivener? Yes, actually, I did see that. $1,000 from Mr. and Mrs. Joseph Hanlon, and we appreciate that extra zero. And $100 from
No,
Ms.
it was 1,000 from Mr. and Mrs. Eugene Spriggs.
Oh,
Yeah.
no,
Hanlon's
let me just-
$100.
oh, it's just listed differently. Sorry. Let me just do that again.
So was it? Was there a $1,000 donation?
A
Yes,
1,000
from
from
Mr. and
Eugene
Mrs.
Spriggs.
Spriggs.
Okay, 'cause it sounded like your earlier comments was 100. So that's what
Let
I
me
was-
do it again.
Yeah, please.
The board
100
moves-
from the Hanlons.
Yeah, the board
Yeah.
moves to accept on behalf of Marshfield Veterans Services the following 4 donations. $200 from Mrs. Suzanne Batigi, $200 from Mr. and Mrs. David Murray, $100 from Mr. and Mrs. Joseph Hanlon, and $1,000 from Mr. and Mrs. Eugene Spriggs. The donations will be used to provide assistance for health and welfare, morale, and other financial need of our veterans and their dependents. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion made and duly seconded. Roll call is in order. Ms. Fidler?
Aye.
Mr. Darcy?
Aye.
Mr. Kelly?
Aye.
Unanimous vote to accept the 4 donations.
Okay, and number 8 is the Council on Aging, and it's a donation from Patricia Dwyer to be deposited into the COA's gift account for $200. Any questions or comments?
Thank you for the donation.
Okay. All set?
I'll roll with Steve's comments.
All right. The board moves to accept on behalf of the Council on Aging a donation in the amount of $200 from Patricia A. Dwyer to be deposited into the COA's gift account. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion made and duly seconded. Roll call is in order. Ms. Fidler?
Aye.
Mr. Darcy?
Aye.
Mr. Kelly?
Aye.
Unanimous vote to accept the $200 donation for the COA's gift account.
Okay. Number 9 is this one of the same, and this is a discussion and vote to accept donation on behalf of Animal Control. Okay. This is respectfully submitted by Officer Alexander Forbes, Marshfield Animal Control. And this is for a donation for $100 from Laurie Johnston Rand. Any questions or comments? Questions or comments?
I will say thank you to
There you go, your turn. Yes. there
Lawrence
you go.
Johnston.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion that the board moves to accept on behalf of the Marshfield Animal Control Office a donation in the amount of $100 from Laurie Johnston Rand. The funds will be deposited into the department's donation account and will be used towards the care of the animals housed at the Marshfield Animal Shelter, cared for by the Marshfield Animal Control Officers. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion been made and duly seconded. Roll call is in order. Ms. Fidler?
Aye.
Mr. Darcy?
Aye.
Mr. Kelly?
Aye.
Unanimous vote to approve the donation of $100.
Okay, number 10 is a discussion and vote on request for permission to accept a donation on behalf of Ventress Library. I'll make it through this.
We hope.
Okay, so this is Goodwill Hunters. Once again, would like to donate $3,500 to the library's gift account. Goodwill Hunters has very generously donated monies to the fund, to fund the children's summer reading program and prizes for the last few years. The children's librarian uses these funds to purchase new books that are given to each child that signs up for the summer reading program. They also use these funds to pay for performers and programs. So this is great. Okay, any questions or comments?
Thank you, thank you.
Any questions or comments?
I'll double that.
Okay. The board moves to accept on behalf of the Ventress Library a donation in the amount of $3,500 from Goodwill Hunters. The funds will be used to fund the children's summer reading programs and prizes. Goodwill Hunters has been making this donation for the last few years. The children's librarian uses these funds to purchase new books that are given to each child that signs up for the summer reading program. These funds are also used to pay for the performance and programs. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion been made and duly seconded. Roll call is in order. Ms. Fidler?
Aye.
Mr. Darcy?
Aye.
Mr. Kelly?
Aye.
Unanimous vote to accept the $3,500 donation from Goodwill Hunters.
Okay. Just would like to, before we adjourn, this reminder for future agendas. So we have the annual town meeting warrant opens on Monday, January 6th, 2025, and closes on Monday, January 27th, 2025. And our special town meeting warrant opens Monday, February 18th, 2025, and it closes on Monday, February 28th, 2025. And as we're all looking forward to it, annual town meeting is Monday, April 28th, 2025. I'd also like to encourage folks to get to our website. There's a lot of information there, and we have the information as presented this evening on the South Shore Regional Vocational Technical High School that is going to a vote on January 25th, 2025, and we will also post any other meetings that Dr. Hickey is coming up with, and any questions or comments. So with that being said, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn and thank everybody for all their work this year, and all of our residents safe and happy new year for 2025. So do I have a second?
Second.
Motion been made and duly seconded. Roll call is in order. Ms. Fidler?
Aye.
Mr. Darcy?
Aye.
Mr. Kelly?
Aye.
Unanimous vote to adjourn, and Happy New Year to everyone.
Okay. Thank you, everybody.